We have another Saturday food support group. Hi, guys. Um, and I'm always just so grateful whenever you guys show up to have these conversations, and sometimes we talk about things that are not exactly food, but it always comes back to inner clarity. And really developing that part of us. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this conversation with me and a part of this journey with me. I really, really enjoy it. Like, I just feel like a kid, like my friends are coming and we get to talk. Like, it's just so fun. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about death. And I know that's kind of morbid and kind of like who really wants to talk about that? But as we know, in nature, death is necessary for life. And the death I'm talking about is the death of different parts of me that have had to die. But I recognize that those parts of me that had to die served a purpose. It was that part of me that couldn't handle my everyday life. And it was that part of me that said, you need to go drink a bottle of wine. That part of me that said, you need to go eat cookie dough, raw cookie dough. And you need to comfort us because we are freaking out that we went through another divorce. We are freaking out that we lost another job. We are freaking out that we are just overwhelmed with bills and everything else. And so I had to allow that part of me to die, because in the end, it was killing me. And I had to let go of that. But I also celebrated it. I also thanked that part of me for keeping me through this time, that I didn't end up killing myself, that I didn't end up having a psychotic break. I didn't end up, hurting someone else or continuing in this self-deprecating existence. I see now that got me through. But now that time is over. Now I am in a different place, and I have found foods that nourish me and that heal me. And I don't need to continue with the ramen noodles and the pizza and the soda and the chocolate and the wine and the whiskey and all the things. And so it's almost like I've sent that part of me in a sea, a burial out at sea. Like I've let that part of me die. And there's remnants of it sometimes whenever I go through a tough moment, and it's like that instinct to go back to the comfort, go back to the chocolate, go back to the whatever. And I'm quickly able to remember, you know what, that part of me is gone. That part of me is dead, and I don't need to eat emotionally. I am safe. I am safe right here, and that part of me is gone. And so I just want to encourage you guys that it hurts. Death hurts, and peeling off those layers of you, it doesn't feel good at first, but oh my goodness, whenever you get this life that comes, because the death has to happen for the life to come. And when the life comes and you're just like, what? I went to a birthday party and I didn't have to eat 2 pieces of cake. I didn't even have to eat 1 piece of cake. I didn't have to. Like, you become a new creation. You literally become this new life that is able to navigate things without having that emotional response, that emotional eating. And I just wanted to give you guys hope that it is possible and that there is life after death. So thank you guys so much. I wanted to share that with you because it's scary, to have your parts of you die, like dead. Have you guys, through this experience, have you guys had any certain deaths that you can share?
Yeah, so a lot of it was sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
You're fine. No, you're fine.
Uh, Going through the stages of grief, just because that with going for the carbs and the junk food, doing that for years in
Yeah.
all different stages of life, when I was a child, when I was an adolescent, teenager, and as an adult, that became my identity. And so then when I was, nope, that's not me anymore, I'm choosing otherwise. Well, then that part of my psyche, that, like you say, it's dead. And my ego, recognizes that as a loss. And so there's all the stages of grief, like denial, bargaining, anger, all of these things. And it's one of those, it's not a linear process, and I go through certain phases and then I'm like, oh, wait, why am I back in this denial phase? I thought I got through that. Well, I mean, yes, I did, but it's peeling back the layers of that trauma, of that loss. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for that reminder, because it is not linear. It is not like on June 14th of 2019, we had the ceremony and that part of Emily died and then it never came back again. Like it's such a process. Thank you. Tom.
Yeah, I remember before going on any diet, like you're afraid like not being able to eat pizza again. I'm scared about that part, and then I was like, how am I going to get past that? But once I was past it, on the other side, especially with carnivore, and I went cold turkey, there was a point there where I didn't even think about it anymore. I don't even think about when I go in stores, when I see all the stuff that's in your face when you walk into a grocery store, it doesn't even faze me at all. And yesterday at work, I'm walking by it. Somebody offered me some Dunkin' Donuts. So I was like, no, thank you. I don't eat those anymore. So it's, I don't have any problem at all anymore. But just before, I was scared about it. And then after, you don't even think about it. So those are my two stages.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because it's almost like you get a new set of eyes. Like I used to see, like I'm picturing that section in the grocery store that has all those little frosted cookies and the cupcakes and the cookies and just everything. And I used to walk by that and just be like, oh, like home. Like it was just so beautiful and so comforting. And now it's just like I literally see it through a different lens, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that would really hurt. That would really exacerbate my mental symptoms. That would exacerbate my physical symptoms. And it just no longer served me. So it was a process of really letting that go.
I'd like to chime in if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Though I know, Kevin, you said you had to go, so I don't know.
Yeah, so let's let Kevin talk real quick, and I'm sure it'll just take 5 minutes, and then I would love to hear what you have to say, Kelly, and we'll be able to continue talking about this. All right, Kevin. So I had a really interesting experience with Kevin this week. I have healed a lot, with stopping to eat sugar and processed foods, and to realizing that my body thrives on animal meat and animal fat. Resolved my bipolar disorder. I haven't had symptoms, since April of 2019. It's 4 freaking years. That's crazy. But there are still parts of me that need healing. And so there was something in me whenever Kevin told me that he was certified in breath work. I something inside of me just jumped. I was just so excited to hear about this. And so I went ahead and took the leap and did a session with Kevin. And I have no words. You guys are going to have to watch the interview because okay, I'll try and give some words. It was 8 years of therapy in an hour and a half. It was absolutely phenomenal. It peeled off layers of me that I didn't even know were ready to shed. They were ready to go. And so Kevin, I know you've just got a couple minutes, but I would just love for you to explain to people, what the process is to breath work. And it's just breathing. How does this even correlate? I don't even understand.
Right. And it really doesn't make sense because, when the doctor slapped your back, you started breathing and crying and all that. And then you've been doing it every day since. So obviously what's to know? Breathe in, breathe out, right? But this mode of breath work and this mode of breathing with a certain force, with a certain, amount that you're bringing in, and getting the carbon dioxide out of your lungs and therefore out of your blood, it goes and has a lot of physiological results that happen because of that. And one of them is it slows the circulation to your your frontal lobe, the prefrontal cortex, which is where the monkey mind is, and the worrying and the analyzing and all of that. And, it takes about 15 minutes before that kind of quiets down. And until then, you're kind of fighting that and saying, why am I doing this? And which I'm sure people will see whenever you post the interview. But it allows the subconscious to manifest because the conscious ego is quieted down. And so the bits of tension and tightness and hurt and trauma can be experienced, felt, and that trauma can be brought up and released. And just with that somatic release, it benefits the body and, like you say, beyond words. So
Absolutely. It was crazy because it was and we say this in the interview, it was like power washing my spirit and my soul. And when I think about whenever, say you're power washing a driveway, and you got all the little cracks and everything, and the water goes into those deep little cracks and pushes up stuff that you didn't even know was there. And it releases it. It wasn't like you stirred up stuff and then I had this big gaping wound and you were like, all right, enjoy. It was it took me it literally escorted me all the way through the process to pull up that stuff and then to wash it away and to release it. And I have felt like a different person ever since. It's really been incredible.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that stuck.
Yes, absolutely. But thank you so much, Kevin. And if you guys want to, definitely keep an eye out for that interview. And definitely reach out to Kevin if you want to practice breath work, because it was incredible. So awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Kelly. So yeah, let's revisit what you were going to say.
Yeah, it's funny. This is the perfect segue, actually.
I know it is.
And then I'll go back to like something you said before, but yeah, hopefully Kevin, I'll connect with him. I think after this, because his offer before I was very resistant to. But it's funny what you just shared. It reminded me that I attempted breath work a good couple years ago, and I had never really done holding on the exhale before. And when I did that, I had no idea what to expect, and it wound up triggering an awakening of every timeline in which I had drowned in like past and parallel lives. And so I went through this like literally convulsions, as if like when the body drowns, the stomach starts pumping, and it's like everything starts sucking in because you can't get breath in. And I was like literally sitting in bed at that time doing this breath work, and then suddenly I was like everywhere observing and then internally experiencing this drowning over and over and over again. I was like, okay, so I haven't done breath work since.
Were you alone?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the really cool part I loved about working with Kevin, is that I had to set up my phone so that he could witness me.
Yeah.
And so he was there, and I felt safe because I knew that if I stopped breathing, Kevin was watching my chest, rise and fall. And so I knew that he was going, because he was in my ears. And so I knew that he'd be like, hey, Emily, breathe. And so I felt so safe to literally be escorted and walked through that whole process. So that's really interesting. Thanks for bringing that up, Kelly.
Well, and it's funny too, because I know like I don't do things unless and until I feel called to them. But I know that resistance can be a big part of that for me. And this breath work, I just started doing some very minor stuff, but it was kind of like that. It was always in the back of my mind. And I'm a very in-person kind of person. And I haven't had that with being so isolated. So it's one of these things where I'm so incredibly excited to explore various things that I don't yet have access to. Because it's like, I need another human body here to work with, to play with, to do, partner yoga. Like it only works if you got a partner, and that breath work, I think for me was a component of that, because breaking through those blocks, being witnessed in your vulnerability sometimes is enough to reactivate the courage within that you need to take the next step on your own. So glad you shared that. And then something you guys were talking about before, I definitely resonate on the food side of things. And I've gone through so many oscillations of getting strong and, not kind of putting blinders on when I go to the grocery store, or like I'm celebrating an event or a holiday with family and I'm sitting there drinking water and they're enjoying the 8-course meal or whatever. And almost kind of, I realized I built up a thick skin that became more of a barrier. It wasn't just a shield, it's something that became hardened. That's been yet again, I've had this before, but yet again, recently it's been crumbling because and like shattering, and it needs to, in order to become truly strong, because strength isn't about hardness, it's about resiliency, about flexibility and breath, and being able to transmute anything without blocks, without prolonged suffering. We might have pain as part of that, but it reminded me of the conversation we were having yesterday, and my quarter life crisis, as I called it, where it was like, I freaked out when I started feeling better because I still wasn't in any way normal. But I didn't know how to navigate life other than extreme illness and isolation. And so it's like, how do I fit into life? Well, life is that? My life? Well, I don't have a life. Well, what's everybody else doing? Oh, I don't fit in there. And so it wasn't just the food, it was the emotions, it's connections, it's social engagement. It was everything in that illness identity. And then getting to the point where I realized, oh, wow, I actually don't want to maintain that illness identity. And that was another layer and level of freaking out, to be like, oh, well, who am I without that?
Seriously.
So it's like that continual ego shattering. ego death, as some people call it, which is actually Eckhart Tolle, we talked about yesterday too. He's big into ego, ego death and whatever. I kind of take a different perspective to it, but it's it's all valid, and it's all constantly evolving. Even when we plateau and level off and kind of stabilize where we're at some point, we're going to have to evolve.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Well, and it's so scary to have death, to have a releasing of something that either is our identity or realizing that that's not our identity. And it's so crazy because one of the things that I see with my clients is that you look into inner clarity system and to what I'm talking about, and you look into like spirituality and really knowing yourself, and you're like, what does food have to do with that? But food is this constant reminder or proclamation of how we're doing. If we're sitting here eating, we're literally self-harming ourselves with food and saying, oh, I ate another cookie, I'm a failure. Oh, I had another bottle of wine, I'm a loser. Oh, I emotionally binge an entire box of Oreos, I'm worthless. And so if you're continuing this voice of saying that you're worthless, it affects you, it gets to you. But whenever you get to a place where you're just like, I am nurturing myself, I am loving myself, I am, giving myself the nutrients and the vitamins that I need, I am healing my body through my food, it literally shifts your perspective on yourself, because you're not hearing that broken record message of you're a failure, you're a failure, you're a failure. You're switching basically records and going, okay, you're doing really good. Like you just walked through the pastry department and it didn't bother you. Like you're a different person. You are evolving. You are growing. You are stronger. I'm so proud of you. And so it literally shifts things in the spiritual realm whenever it just has to do with food. And I don't know why it's so connected, but it is.
Well, what's interesting too is I've been taking a look at like my own history of how I even developed some patterns in illness, and let alone the mental side of things, and observing the progression that I've gone through in oscillations before, but now I'm kind of shifting to a new level, that it's like I can observe everything that's been, and I still have some subconscious programming that is playing out those old records, right? But now I know that and can see that, and I'm in process of, okay, now I'm going to take off those records and be free from that. That's like that transcendent experience. But observing like, okay, what are the things that even triggered me wanting to use food as a way to emotionally cope? And often it was because of wanting to numb or wanting to create a buffer between me and my environment that was, discordant for whatever reason. And then I noticed that was subconscious. Then I started doing it consciously because it felt better and there was a link there. And then I started berating myself because of having awareness of what I was doing, but I felt powerless at times to stop it. And then I would keep kind of plummeting because of berating myself down to complete numbness and shutting off conscious awareness. And then that being in that paralyzed, numb state is hell. But I found it's not even the worst part of hell. The worst part of hell is actually waking up from that, because then you feel everything. You feel the pain and you see the potential for pleasure, but it's just perfectly matched with that amount of pain and suffering. And so it took me a lot to try to shift out of, no, I really want to fight this. I really want to awaken from states of numbness. And I know that there's a light at the end of that tunnel, but it's not fun. It's not comfortable. And the benefit of social support, which is not something we always have, which is amazing about this group, have that, to talk about these things that often were never talked about, so that, sometimes when we're starting to slip or crash down the side of the mountain, like there's somebody there to be like, hey, I got you, hold on. Like, it's okay, take a rest. And to like have
Exactly.
that awareness of what you were talking about, the old record, as you put it. I love that metaphor. That's a really great metaphor.
Yeah. And it's such a process, and really just allowing yourself to be at whatever stage you're at. Like, you're not behind. You're exactly where you're supposed to be on your journey. And what's really cool is that as you start to ask for help, help comes. And so I have loved that part of my process, that whenever I do get to tricky spots, it's like someone will come across my path who will help me. And so that's why I really feel so grateful for the community that we can offer, that we have that support. We have that voice of other people's experiences, to be able to navigate this in a way that is not terrifying, because it's terrifying. It's absolutely scary to go through these layers of death. But I think that whenever we have these public conversations, because you guys, there are people who send me emails that are like, hey, I watch every episode, or I watch every meeting that you guys have, and they're there. And then there's people who even come to these meetings who never come on camera, never ask a question, they're just here. And so that tells me that there's people who need to hear these conversations, and who need to know they're not alone. They're not alone on this journey. Because really none of us are alone. We do have that extra support. We just have to accept it. We have to reach out, and go, hey, I need help. Hey, I'm not okay.
That can be really hard to do when you're so used to surviving seemingly without it, or resisting it, or being in that state of numbness where, I think somebody commented before you started recording, like, I think, Tom, it was you, like, if you meet somebody who's really light and bright and has a lot of energy, or they're excited about something, and sometimes it's like, whoa. So I remember, like, in those moments when I could only handle so much, Emily and I were talking yesterday about this. It's kind of like when you're awakening and enlightening, it's kind of like sometimes you're trying to put too much wattage through a bulb that just can't quite handle it. So you got to up level, you got to upgrade the bulb so it can handle more of that, luminosity, or whatever the right term is. And so it's like, I get that, where sometimes you're like, okay, you're a bit too much. I need to go back to my dark hole for a while, and then maybe I can handle a little bit of you. Interestingly enough, that seems to be the opposite now. My loved ones are like, whoa, you have way too much energy now. You go away.
That's great.
Love you, but go away. I'm like, okay.
Absolutely. Audra, is there anything in it? I mean, have you experienced this with your coaching and your community?
Yeah, I'm that person. I'm that person. I'm sorry, Kelly. I'm just kidding. I am extremely upbeat. For the ones of you who don't know, I've been carnivore now for about 22 months. I lost 80 pounds. I lost that in the first 10 months. And carnivore is like one of the best things I ever found. I absolutely love the community. I would not take love or money for the people that I've met, like Emily, like Karen Miles, like Jackie Jones, basically Kelly Hogan, Bella. I mean, I've met so many people. I went to KetoCon back in Austin, Texas. Was Tom showing us?
A meetup. They must have posted it for
the thing for Karen.
That's Karen. Yes, Karen thing.
Yeah.
They surprised Karen. Yep.
Yeah, they've been sending me Marcos all morning. Karen sent me a Marco this morning, like on her drive to the walk, that she's helping out with, and I knew they were going to be there. And so I was like sending her a Marco back, you know, and because we normally Marco on her way to work every morning, where she drinks coffee and we joke and cut up. But anyway, but yeah, I'm so excited for Karen, and I'm so excited they're getting to surprise her. And I know she is like beyond over the moon. But anyway, community is where it's at. I didn't used to think that I needed support or that I needed help, because I thought I was that person. Yeah, I can do this, you know, I can do this. But I didn't realize I had an addiction until I became carnivore. All my life, I've gained weight, lost weight, yo-yo dieted, you know, take steroids for asthma, allergies, go up 30 pounds, lose 10, go back on steroids again. You know, it's been an emotional roller coaster, as well as yo-yo dieting. I even had weight loss surgery. I lost a lot of weight after the weight loss surgery, but then because my brain was still an addictive brain, then I went back to sugar and sweets, because sugar was my kryptonite. I mean, that was, you know, and people say, oh, this dessert's too sweet, or that dessert. No, negative, Ghost Rider. There is no dessert that is too sweet. But I mean, I had a bad sugar addiction, and now I've been without sugar. I don't have cravings. I'm full blown carnivore. Once in a while, I might have a bite of something, and it's not even appealing to me. You know, obviously no sugar. Maybe a bite of like coleslaw or something like that, but nothing with sugar in it. I'm scared to have anything with sugar, because I'd never want to be addicted to that again. That is the only addiction I have. I've never had drug addiction, alcohol, cigarettes, anything like that. I don't do any of that. But I was highly addicted to sugar, way more so than anything I could think of. But anyway, I do have a coaching group. My coaching website and group is allthingsalder.com. We do have a Zoom call on Tuesday nights from 8 to 9, and that's Eastern Standard Time. And if anybody's interested in that, check us out at allthingsalder.com. But I am that person. Sometimes I'm a bit over the top, but it is what it is. And I enjoy life. Not that I didn't enjoy life before, but sometimes I find now that I'm just so freaking happy. Like I'm so happy. I'm just riding around going, I'm so happy. Why am I so happy? And then I go, why am I asking myself why I'm so happy? Why am I just not happy? You know, but it's made just a world of difference for me. I don't ever want to go back. I was actually asked to speak at KetoCon about my experience during the feasting and fasting group session that they had there. So I gave my story, and, you know, I want to help as many people as I can, because we're all very addicted to food, and the preservatives and the sugar and all the bad stuff that's in food. It's killing us. It's killing people every day. And all the children and the young kids and the infants, I mean, they're just being started out on all this stuff from the get-go. And, you know, it's disease is getting way worse. Autoimmunes. We got autoimmunes I've never even heard of. Where did this come from? You know, I have a friend of mine who has an autoimmune disease, and I said something to her recently about, hey, you really should try carnivore to see if it will put your Parkinson's disease in remission. And so she asked me about it, and I told her about it. And she said, well, I'll think about it. What? What do you mean you think about it? You know, what if it put this in remission? So, yeah, I do deal with a lot of that for sure.
Yeah, it's hard. And it's hard because it is a completely different way of thinking and eating. And we're not saying that that's for everybody. We're not saying that everybody needs to do what we did. But even recently, they did a TV series, like a docu-series called Reversed, and they highlighted carnivore. So Tom, you watched some of that. What has that been like?
Well, I binge watched the first 4 episodes because they were posted all at the same time on Dr. Ken Berry's YouTube channel. So Charles Maddox is the one that produced it and directed it. And it was done in Costa Rica. And he pulled together Dr. Chafee, Anthony Chafee, Dr. Ken Berry, Kelly Hogan was there. There was a couple other doctors. Coach Bronson was there. He actually lives in Maryland here. He was at the meetup last year. I met him. Emily Harbo, and a few others. Maria Emmerich. So a lot of carnivore.
Dr. Kiltz was there too, wasn't he? Kiltz, yeah.
Kiltz was there. Yeah.
And Bella.
Yeah, Bella, Steak and Butter Gal. And Dr. Chapey brought his wife. They both look like models of just perfect health, and like if you were to like model and say who is the perfect human, man and woman, it would be Dr. Chapey and his girlfriend. I don't know if you ever seen them together. And the same thing with Bella and her boyfriend. They're just perfect health specimens. Kelly Hogan as well. It was pretty good because what I liked about it, it was transparent. They invited guests from, I think there was like 6 guests or 5 guests, something like that. One was a couple, and they actually were farmers. They didn't look like farmers, but they were farmers. And last year they had a couple of guests that 2 of them passed away in between last year and this year. So one of them was a heart condition thing. So that was kind of hit home with me, but
yeah.
So they just didn't start Carnivore on time, in time to save their lives, unfortunately. But last night they released the episode 5, and that was the finale. And it was basically a 6-month follow-up of all of the guests on there, and they all had better blood work, lost weight, lower their A1C, reversed, even some of them even reversed their type 2 diabetes in that short time.
Wow.
So if you get a chance to watch it, here's the highlight of this whole thing. And I actually think this is a setup, so I hope Charles is careful with this. But CNN contacted Charles to do an interview about the series. So he's going to do an interview with CNN, and he's invited Ken Berry to go on with him. So I don't know when that's going to be.
Wow.
I'll try to find that one for you.
That's
if that
crazy.
I'm skeptical about it because sometimes I always think that they're trying to set up the community because anytime you make progress, because this is progress in the carnivore community, they're always trying to find a way. You see these articles coming out, and sure as hell there was another one coming out, another anti-carnivore or it's either anti-carnivore, anti-keto, or a plug for plant-based eating and why it lowers cholesterol and saves your life and all this crap.
Yeah.
And I would say studies show, and they never really give the study. They never really tell you what study it is. There's no bookmarks or anything like that, like a note, like a proper bookmark for a study, so you can go look at it yourself. Sources say that it's good.
I had a journalist reach out to me in 2019, and she was like, I want to do an article on you in the UK. And so I was like, okay. And so I gave her my story. I gave her my pictures, and the whole thing was actually really good. It was really based on what I said and my experience and all of my pictures, and then what I ate in a day. And then at the very end, it's like they have to have that one paragraph. They were like, we talked to a doctor about what Emily eats, and it is not recommended what Emily eats. It is not healthy, and studies show and blah, 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 blah. And it was just like that one little paragraph, but it was like 20 paragraphs of all of the good stuff. So yeah, I was like, you know what, even if it's negative publicity, it's still getting people thinking about this. Just like Dr. Paul Saladino, when he went on that TV show.
I was just going to say, oh my God, you read my mind. I swear to God, you just read my mind. I was just going to talk about that same exact one.
Go ahead.
That lady was screaming at him.
Yeah.
Like, you're a doctor. What kind of doctor are you? Are you a nutritional? It was like, she was nasty. And I was like, oh, that lady just pissed me off.
Yeah.
And she was
y'all know General Mills has already kind of blacklisted Dr. Berry. Not really blacklisted, but he's been after General Mills for their cereals and all that kind of stuff. And they have really come back at him pretty hard because they don't want him bad mouthing their products.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And just like me, a private investigator, I have people get in touch with me all the time and they say, "Oh, we want to do a reality show on you." Okay, cool. How's that going to work? You know, my people are not going to let me show their cases on TV. And they're like, "Oh, it's okay. We'll have actors. We'll have actors that'll be the people you follow." Well, then how is that reality? It's not reality. You know, it's all about numbers, publicity, and getting them ranking. That's all it is. And then they're always going to have something nasty to say at the end, which is going to be their spin on everything. So it makes me very reluctant to do that. I've never done it. I'm not going to do it. But they said, "Oh, we'll set you up a fictitious office in town. And, you know, the people you follow will be actors and actresses." And what? No. You're just looking for a little puppet to, you know, be your puppet for your show. And that puppet's not going to be me. I'm not interested.
Well, and that's why I think it's so important to have these authentic discussions, that we are real people expressing our story. And that's why, you know, I started my YouTube channel to be able to just be transparent and have my own reality TV, in that I'm just sharing with people. Like you'll even see at the beginning of my YouTube channel, the different problems that I had as I navigated this, and it was terrifying. And so I think that that's why community is so important for us to have the real stories, to have the real experiences, you know, even if it's not carnivore, even if it's somebody who is navigating with other foods. It's so important to just have those true, authentic stories.
Yeah, it may not be a study, but when you show a picture of somebody that had a whole bunch of skin issues,
Yeah.
and it's amazing, just how, oh my God, how are you ever going to cure that? And then in the side by side is you have this perfect skin, and that was Carnivore that did that. And I forget her name right now. I apologize for that if she ever watches this video. I'm sorry, but just the side by sides, the results, the actual facts that happen. You reverse type 2 diabetes, reverse fatty liver disease. My A1C went from 8.2 to 4.7 in 5 months. Lost 70 pounds, whatever, and there's more. Skin tags went away. You know, you could just go on and on with different people that have resolved, like acne, cleared acne, that you've tried everything in the world. And not me, I talked to somebody that actually they cleared their acne from Carnivore. And there's so much anecdotal evidence out there. I don't even trust the way studies are done. It's like, it seems silly. They have all of the power, all of the legitimacy, but they're really, when you really see how they do it, I don't get how it's legitimate, to be honest with you. Just because
a lot of people have psoriasis too, and like bad psoriasis, and it's gone. It's gone. And, you know, and they didn't take a medication. They've been taking medicine for years to keep it at bay, and it's not even helping. They go Carnivore, psoriasis gone. Same thing with people who have a lot of rosacea. You know, they've been putting this cream on their face every day for years, still there. They go Carnivore, rosacea's gone, no more cream. So if that doesn't tell you it's what we eat, I don't know what does.
You don't even have to, you don't even have to really use deodorant, brush your teeth if you really don't want to. I swear to God. I mean, sometimes I'll be like, did I brush my teeth? Oh my God, I didn't brush my teeth yet. What is wrong? I just brush my teeth just to brush my teeth. But I feel like it's like, do I even need to? But I guarantee you, when I go to the dentist this month, and I finally have a dental appointment, I bet you I don't have one cavity. And the last time I went to the dentist was probably a year and a half ago. I'll go in there and say, I'll bet you $1 million I don't have a cavity. Because I know that I'm not going to, because I'm not eating sugar anymore. I'm eating a carnivore. So
yeah. And it's absolutely amazing to me. And that's why I I tell people, even people who come to me as, vegans and vegetarians, if you're still having physical problems, then just try it. Like, just try it for 30 to 45 days and just see what resolves. And that's my favorite part, is when people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that it was the broccoli that was hurting me, because broccoli's supposed to be good. And I'm not saying that broccoli is the devil. I'm not. Some people can handle broccoli, but you don't know what your system is processing until you just try it.
I have an employee that, I know you're getting ready to wrap up, but I have an employee that is a vegetarian, and she gets mad at me because how could you kill all these animals? I'm like, well, that vegetarians, there's more animals that die with eating vegetables, and she don't want to hear that part, but she's still, friendly to me and all that, but she has so many health issues. She eats, I see her when she has for lunch, she's like eating this just a leaf of lettuce, and she has this bag of like whatever lettuce, and that's all she eats. But she's like, she's always talking about, I have my gastroenterology appointment and I'm on this, I have to take these vitamin supplements. Isn't that a clue that, that you're not eating properly? Because if you have to take all these supplements in order to stay healthy, and you're supposedly eating the most healthy diet out there, I don't think so. But I feel bad for her. I just like, eat some meat, please.
Yeah.
Interesting fact about the dentist real quick. So when I went to as a child, I had cavities my whole life. I had 2 and 3 fillings in every tooth. I mean, just because all I ate was sugar as a kid growing up. Processed food, sugar, sugar, sugar. You've been good. Here's a cupcake. You've been good. Here's a donut. You've been good. Here's some candy. We ate sugar. We drank Kool-Aid with 10 cups of sugar in a gallon. Not literally, but you know what I'm saying? Like Kool-Aid, just overly sugared. Anyway, recently I was at my dentist and I noticed that I had more plaque. I've never had plaque or tartar or any of that, but I had more on the inside, on the bottom of my teeth. So I asked my dentist about that. I said, what's up with that? He said, let me tell you what it is. The fact that you've changed your diet, it has actually changed your saliva. And that, even though I had no cavities, he said sometimes that will make you have more tartar or more plaque buildup because your saliva has changed so much with changing your diet. He's like, it's fine. It's no big deal. It's not hurting anything. You get your teeth cleaned every 6 months. But I thought that was an interesting statement. And now, having had that, I've spoken to about 6 carnivores. They have the same issue. They never had tartar or plaque on the bottom, their bottom teeth on the inside where your tongue is, but now they have more. Yep. Isn't that weird? But it's got to be because it changes the saliva makeup, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is crazy.
That's why I'm going for a cleaning. That's why I'm going for a cleaning.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys so much for this community and this conversation. I know that we hit a lot of different things. But it's just so important to be able to have these conversations and to be real about our experiences, because there's other people out there who are sitting in their little isolated lives, and they're needing to hear our stories. They're needing to hear just the possibility of what could change for them. If they really followed their inner clarity and navigated the foods that nurture their body. So thank you guys so much. I love you all, and I will see you next Saturday. Bye.